All right. Are you ready to dive into something pretty interesting today? We are taking a look at a sermon from Gilgal Christian Center's YouTube channel. And it's about how, like, the people you're around, like, how much they can really, really impact your journey in life,
hmm
especially when it comes to creating wealth.
Yeah, it really is interesting how this sermon uses this whole idea of association,
Yeah.
right? Like it's a fundamental building block when it comes to success.
Uh-huh.
And they use this acronym WEALTH.
Okay.
And today we're going to be focusing on the A, and that stands for association.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, and the speaker comes right out and says, like, he makes this pretty bold claim that your associations don't just like affect how fast you progress. They determine where you end up in life.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, have you ever thought about it like that?
It's powerful.
Like really who you hang out with shaping your ultimate destination.
Yeah, it's a huge concept, and the sermon digs into it by first like tackling this idea of an unbeliever. Now, they define it in a way that's it's kind of like beyond, like just religious beliefs, right?
Yeah.
It's anyone who doesn't share your vision,
Mm-hmm.
discourages you or like holds you back from reaching your potential.
Yeah, and they even go on to say, like, warn you, that unbelievers could be within your own community or circle of friends.
Oh, yeah.
People who maybe seem supportive on the surface,
Right.
but they might be subtly undermining your progress.
Absolutely.
It's like they're really pushing you to evaluate those close relationships.
Yeah, it's all about discernment, right?
Yeah.
And the sermon makes this like really fascinating parallel, this biblical concept of being unequally yoked.
Okay.
Imagine two oxen trying to plow a field together,
Uh-huh.
but they don't match.
Right.
Strength and temperament, it's just not going to work.
It's not going to be efficient.
No, not at all.
Right. One's going to be pulling ahead while the other one's lagging behind,
Exactly.
creating like tension and frustration and all that.
Absolutely. So like in terms of relationships being equally yoked, it means like finding people who share your vision, share your values, right?
Right.
Who are aligned with your goals and can move forward with you in a way that's supportive and harmonious.
I like that. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, the sermon like emphasizes this shared energy,
Right.
right? Like and direction, and that being so crucial for growth.
Mm.
And it even gives some guidance for those who might already be in situations, like say a marriage, for instance,
Right.
where their partner doesn't quite fit that believer definition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's this one part, I don't remember exactly where it was in the sermon, but it really jumped out at me when the speaker says, it's okay to leave losers.
Wow.
Now, I know that sounds harsh, but, he goes on to explain. He's like, it's not about like judging people or like abandoning people.
Right.
It's about recognizing when a relationship is actually hindering your progress,
Yeah.
and just having the courage to step away from those dynamics. It's tough, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's about understanding that sometimes people, even if they don't mean to, right, they can hold us back from really reaching our full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay in those situations, it can keep you stuck in this cycle. Like you're just frustrated all the time and you're stagnating.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like, just think about it for a second.
Okay.
Your own circle of influence are the people you spend the most time with. Are they lifting you up?
Mm-hmm.
Are they encouraging you to grow? Or are they, maybe subtly, maybe overtly pulling you down?
Right.
It's something to think about.
It is. And that leads us to this next like key concept. And this one I think is really insightful, this idea of mentors and role models.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
So they talk about direct mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Those are people you're actively learning from.
Mm-hmm.
And then indirect mentors.
Right.
And those are the ones whose examples you can like study and emulate.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what I think is really fascinating is how the sermon challenges us to be really intentional, right? When we're choosing our mentors, we should pick people that not only have achieved success, but they embody the qualities that we want.
Okay, so it's not just about finding someone who's successful,
Right.
but it's about finding someone who's successful in a way that you would want to be successful.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And they actually quote Dr. Miles Monroe, who said, "The poorest man in the world is an optimist who is surrounded by pessimists."
So true.
Right. It's that idea that even if you have a positive outlook,
Right.
if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, It can just drain you, you
It
know?
can totally like zap your energy
Yeah, totally.
and dampen your like excitement for things.
It's about understanding the impact of your environment,
Hmm.
like your social environment, right?
Right.
And making sure that you surround yourself with people that will push you and inspire you to do better.
So think about like who are the people you admire? What
Yeah.
can you learn from like their journeys? Right.
And that leads us to the next part of the sermon that I was really interested in. They argue that achieving success, even when it comes to things like faith and spirituality, requires a strategy.
It's interesting how they bring in the concept of case studies, right?
Yeah.
Something you typically see in a business school.
Yeah.
But they're saying like we can learn from the successes and failures of other people, right?
Right.
Analyze their strategies.
Analyze their strategies, yeah.
Apply those insights to our own lives.
So it's like they're saying, don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Learn from those who have already been there and done that.
Exactly. And they emphasize that this applies to everything. It doesn't have to be financial wealth, right? If you're trying to improve your relationships, if you want to start a business, if you want to deepen your spiritual connection, doesn't matter what the goal is, having a clear plan of action is crucial.
Okay, so I have a clear plan of action is crucial.
Okay, so I have a question for you then, okay? What is your strategy
Oh, putting me on the spot.
for achieving your goals? And like more importantly, are your current associations helping you with that or are they holding you back?
Those are great questions.
Right. Something to think about.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to continue unpacking the sermon, and we are going to be discussing this whole idea of how our associations can really impact our like acceleration towards our goals, and how they can also impact where we end up in life. So stay with us.
You know, it's fascinating how this sermon, like, even though it's coming from like a faith-based perspective, it really taps into like these universal truths about success and personal growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even if someone doesn't, connect with the religious aspect of it, that core message about like the impact of your social circle, that really resonates with everybody.
It really does.
I mean, we've all felt it, right? The influence of the people around us, both good and bad.
Absolutely. And you know what I really like? How they frame it as like association regulating your acceleration and destination.
I love that. Yeah. Right. It's like this really powerful reminder that who we hang out with can either like push us forward or it can hold us back. And it's not just in terms of like what we do every day, but like our overall trajectory in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like where we actually end up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it reminds me of some of the research on social contagion. Have you heard about this?
A little bit.
Yeah. So studies have shown that things like happiness, even things like obesity and spending habits, can actually spread through social networks.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah, it's almost like our behaviors and attitudes are like contagious.
So it's not just like some abstract concept. Like there's actual science backing this up. That's crazy.
I know, it is pretty wild.
Like your associations have a real impact on your life.
Yeah, they really do. And it really highlights just how important it is to like be really mindful about who you let into your inner circle. You know, like if you want to achieve your goals, if you want to live a fulfilling life, like you need to be as intentional about choosing your social environment as you are about like choosing what you eat.
It's like you're creating like a healthy social diet for yourself.
Exactly.
That's a really good way to put it.
And it ties back into what the sermon was saying about finding mentors and role models that like really embody the qualities that you want.
Totally. And they don't even have to be people you know personally, right?
Right, right.
Like they talked about indirect mentors.
Yeah.
People whose stories and examples inspire you, even if you've never actually met them.
Yeah, like you could have a mentor that's been dead for 100 years.
Yeah, totally. Like it's almost like building your own like personal board of advisors, but with people who might be like authors or historical figures,
Right.
entrepreneurs, anyone whose journey like really speaks to you.
It's like you're curating a collection of like really inspiring influences that can guide you along the way.
I like that. That's a good word. Curating.
Yeah.
Like you're really being intentional about it.
It's not just accepting whatever relationships come your way.
Yeah.
You're seeking out the connections that are really going to help you grow.
Now, I know we can't always control who we interact with, especially when it comes to like family or coworkers.
Right.
So how do we apply these principles in situations where we might be like kind of stuck with certain associations?
That's a great question. And the sermon actually does touch on that, especially when it comes to things like marriage, right?
Okay.
And they acknowledge that you can't always change other people, but you can control how much you let them influence you.
So even if you can't like completely avoid certain negative influences, you can at least like limit their impact on like your mindset and like your ability to achieve your
Well,
goals.
yeah, it's all about setting boundaries, right?
Right.
Protecting your energy.
Protecting your energy. I like that.
It's about being aware of what energy you're letting into your space
Mm.
and making choices about like who you give your time to,
Yeah. Who you give your attention to.
who you give your attention to.
It's not about like cutting off everyone who doesn't perfectly align with you.
Right.
But it's about being selective
Yeah,
and nurturing the relationships that really support your growth.
absolutely.
You know, this whole conversation is really making me think about my own social circles, like what I'm doing and who I'm surrounding myself with. And that part about strategy that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, it goes beyond just who you know,
Mhm.
right? It's about what you do with those connections
Yeah.
and how you approach your goals.
I love that analogy they use, like the case studies from business school.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, don't reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
Learn from the people who have already achieved what you want.
Right. Study their strategies, take their wisdom.
Figure out how to apply it to your own life.
Exactly.
It's like they're saying, don't try to do everything on your own. Like find mentors, find people to collaborate with, build a community that can support you on your journey.
I love that.
It's like having a roadmap
Mm-hmm.
and like a team of Sherpas all in one.
I love that. That's a great analogy.
And it highlights how important it is to like not try to do everything by yourself.
Yeah, and it reminds me of this quote. It's like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
I've heard that one.
It's a powerful statement, right?
That is.
It makes you think about who you're spending your time with.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about something specific that the sermon mentioned that I thought was really interesting. They talked about how even churches and ministries need strategies to be effective.
Oh, that is interesting. Because you would think it's all about faith.
Right, right. But they're saying that even with faith, you still need a plan, right?
Yeah.
You still need a strategy to achieve your goals.
So it's almost like they're like bridging this gap between like the spiritual
Uh-huh.
and the practical, saying that you need both to be successful,
Yeah.
no matter what you're doing.
And it really emphasizes that you need to be intentional, right?
Right.
And proactive, not just in your own life, but also in your community and the organizations that you're part of.
It's like recognizing that you have the power to shape your own destiny,
Yeah.
both individually and collectively.
By combining faith and action,
Yeah.
vision and strategy.
I like that. Yeah. This has been a really insightful conversation. It's like this reminder that we have a lot more control over our lives than we realize. And by being mindful of our associations, we can really create an environment that supports our growth and helps us become like the best version of ourselves.
Absolutely. It's all about understanding how powerful our relationships really are and using that power to create positive change.
And it starts with being honest with ourselves, asking ourselves some tough questions like, who are the people we're surrounding ourselves with? Are they lifting us up or are they holding us back? Are they aligned with our values and like where we want to go in life?
Yeah. And if not, what steps can we take to like find people that are more supportive? You know, find people that are going to empower us.
And it's not about judging people
Yeah.
or cutting people out of our lives. It's about making sure that the people we spend time with are the ones who are going to help us grow and evolve.
Exact.
Man, this deep dive has like really given me a lot to think about, you know?
Yeah.
It's like this like wake up call to be more intentional, you know, about who I'm hanging out with, the
Yeah.
company I keep, all that.
It's not just about who you spend time with, though, right?
No.
It's like, what's the energy of that relationship, you know?
Yeah.
Like, where's it headed? Are they aligned with your goals? Are they pushing you to grow, or are they holding you back? It's like, these are the questions we all need to be asking ourselves.
Yeah, and this sermon that we've been talking about, it gives us this really like interesting framework, right, for thinking about these things.
Yeah.
It's not just about like avoiding the negative influences, but it's also about seeking out the positive ones, you know? Totally.
Like the people who are really going to help you reach your full potential.
Absolutely. And it's like they're saying, you know, don't just settle for like whatever relationships you already have.
Right.
Curate your social circle.
Curate it.
Choose to be around people that like inspire you, challenge you, and support your growth, you know?
Yeah, and I know it's not always easy, like especially when you're talking about family
Oh, yeah, that's tough.
or like longtime friendships.
Right.
But, you know, the sermon makes this point that even in those situations, you can still like set boundaries and you can make choices.
Right.
that protect your energy and focus on the relationships that are good for you.
That's huge because, like, we can't always choose who we're around, right?
Right.
But we can choose how we react
Yeah, how you respond.
and how much we let them influence us.
So it's not about cutting everyone out of your life who doesn't like perfectly agree with you on everything.
Yes, exactly.
It's about being mindful and making choices that are like healthy for you. And it's about remembering that we have a choice. You know, like we can choose to stay stuck in these relationships that like drain our energy.
Yeah.
Or we can choose to seek out those connections that are really going to lift us up, empower us, give us that energy that we need, you know?
Yeah, I really like that. That's a good point. We really have more control than we think.
We do.
I keep coming back to that, like, throughout this whole deep dive. And, the sermon's emphasis on strategy, that was another thing that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Like, it's not enough to just have dreams,
Right.
You got to have a plan.
Absolutely. You got to have a plan, and you need people around you that, like, support that plan and can help you, like, actually make it happen.
Yeah, it's almost like you're saying, like, you need a roadmap and a team of Sherpas.
I love that. That's perfect.
It's a good analogy, right?
It is.
And it just highlights how important it is to, like, not try to do it all alone.
Right. Seek out mentors, find people to collaborate with, build a community.
Like, build your team.
Build your team. Exactly.
And, don't be afraid to learn from other people's experiences, too. Like, study the people who have already achieved what you want to achieve.
Yeah, look at what they did.
Figure out what worked for them and then adapt it, to your own path.
Absolutely.
This has been such a good conversation. It's really given me, like, a fresh perspective on, like, the power of association and how much it shapes, like, everything,
Yeah.
Our lives, our work, our relationships.
It's huge. It's all connected.
It is. It really is. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listeners with something to think about. Think about that future that you want for yourself. Okay? Are your current associations helping you get there? Or is it maybe time to make some adjustments?
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
Right. It's not about judging people or ending friendships. It's about creating, like, a social ecosystem that's going to help you grow.
Yeah. It's about creating a life that feels good.
That feels good. And that's, like, really in line with what you want,
Yeah.
Aligned with your values.
Yeah, align with your values. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep growing.